Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Family Home Worship here at St. Andrews for Sunday, October the 17th. It's just me and Nathan today.
Yeah,
We're having a nice weekend, right?
yeah,
I think so. Hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving whenever you had it last week, and still week by week, lots to give thanks for. We had some pretty nice weather,
yeah.
other than a little rain, which is also good for the earth.
Yeah, a little rain this morning.
hmm And maybe you're spent some time this weekend doing some Halloween decorating. We did some of that today, and I think what else did you and Mummy and Hannah do today?
We went, well, we got some pumpkins that we grew earlier this year and
hmm
just got a couple in
Yeah.
general.
So lots of fun stuff happening this time of year, and again things continue to be going fairly well. So
Yeah, and Halloween is coming fairly soon.
it is coming very soon. Yep.
Yeah, so soon that me and Hannah have already got our costumes.
Yes, you did. They look like great costumes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're moving on to our theme for the day. We're coming to the third and final part of our look at the story of Ruth, and we've had a couple different themes in that. But to get there, we're going to need to first play our game.
Body part edition.
Body part edition. So I'm going to warn you, this one's a little bit trickier than the last couple of weeks have been. So let's give it a go.
Eyelid.
Eyelid. You, all right. I think this is the easiest one. Next.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
But then
Fours. So forehead's minus S.
so four.
Four.
So you said there are four heads, but take the S off, and it's four.
Head. Oh.
There you go. You got that one well.
P plus. Wait, what's supposed to be in the painting?
You don't know who that is?
No?
Very famous. It's Elvis Presley.
Oh.
So P plus.
No.
It's the king of rock and roll. It's Elvis Presley. I mean, granted, it's a long time ago now.
Yeah, I know, but
So
it's pelvis.
pelvis. Yep.
Just why?
Yes, pelvis or your hip bone.
So L plus, so well minus W is L plus bow.
Elbow.
Elbow. Kidney.
Oh, geez, you're better at this than I was playing it earlier. Kidney. You got that one right.
It wasn't too difficult.
Not too difficult. So we're back to our memory verse, which again is from Jeremiah. Do you think you want to give it a go, Nathan?
For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to hurt slash.
That's a word that starts with H, but and is a similar meaning to heart, to hurt, and not to harm.
Not to harm you, plans to give you a hope in the future.
Very good. Yeah. So this is again part of God's promise. Not necessarily that life is going to be easy, but even when it's hard, there is a plan to bring goodness back to us, to give us a hope and a future. Okay, so where do you think the theme might be this week? Because we forgot to do our question earlier. That's silly me. So the question, that maybe it gives us a hint as to our theme. You want to read the question, Nathan?
What is something that you lost but then found? My answer was a toy car.
A toy car. Yeah, I know. It's losing toys, especially when you're little, can be pretty stressful, right?
Yeah, and easy.
And easy, yeah. Well, I think, speaking of things that...
Yeah, it was lost in my sweater, I believe, and I found it when I was going grocery shopping.
Yeah, so that's a nice surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably I was thinking about lost and found. It was back before you you guys were. Mommy and I were in our first house together. I think I was working in the basement, and I thought I'd closed the front door, but it hadn't quite latched, and the wind blew it open. I came upstairs, and both our cats were gone.
Oh
Yeah.
no!
So
Did you
I was
find them?
yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, Elaine's gonna kill me, and I was really worried too. But fortunately, Nemo,
Well, I
our one
wasn't very worried.
yeah.
When I
Well, Nemo,
lost
our
them.
one cat, yeah. Nemo, our one cat didn't go too far, and I had to go a little bit farther to find Freckles. But then I also didn't feel bad because the same thing happened to Mummy a little while later. So it was easy to do in that house for some reason.
Yeah, I guess it was just. I guess the wind was pretty strong, and the door wasn't fully latched for those who
Yeah,
haven't.
we had to be very careful to make sure the door was latched.
Yeah, but again, everybody makes mistakes.
They do. Yep.
Except
So
gone Jesus.
that's right. So that we got the questions about something lost and found. Any idea what our theme might be for the day?
Well, it isn't the New Testament yet.
Yeah, we're finishing up. We're still in Ruth.
Yeah, if I said it was lost and found, then it was the New Testament. I'd probably say it's the story about where Jesus tells the story about like the lost, the shepherds with the lost sheep, and the other stories.
Well,
but since it isn't quite the New Testament yet, I don't really know.
All right, so let's get the big God machine going and find out what our theme is for the day. Ready? What you guys can do along at home as well. Ready? The Lord redeems. And is that a word that we often use?
No.
No, it's a word that we see more. Well, you sometimes use it in everyday life when you're a bit older, but we'll see more what that means when we look at the story, which brings the book of Ruth to an end. We'll see that again, the rest of that story now.
Naomi was bitter. She had lost her husband and her 2 sons, and would have been all alone if her daughter-in-law Ruth had not stuck with her through it all. But Naomi wanted Ruth to be happy. She wanted her to have her own family. So when she noticed that her relative Boaz had been kind and generous to Ruth, she saw an opportunity. One night, she said to Ruth, "Get yourself cleaned up, put on your best dress, and go and ask him to take care of you. Trust me, he'll be so happy to see you." So Ruth did as Naomi suggested, and Boaz was surprised to see her and happy. "The Lord bless you. Of course I will take care of you. I know who you are and what a beautiful heart you have. I would be proud to be your husband," said Boaz. Ruth returned to Naomi and told her everything that had happened. Naomi said, "Just you wait and see. That man won't rest until everything is done just right." The next day, Boaz did not rest until Ruth was his wife. He met with leaders in the town, members of Naomi's family, and made sure everything was done just right. So Boaz and Ruth were married. And soon after, they had a son they named Obed. When Naomi saw her grandson, she finally realized what had been true for some time. Her life was not empty. All along, God had been taking the broken pieces of her life and making them into something new. There's a special word we use when God does that. We call it redeeming. And in this case, God was not just redeeming Naomi's family, but literally everyone. Because from that little baby boy would come the family line of the first king, David. And from there, Solomon, to Rehoboam, to Abijah, to Asa, to Jehoshaphat, to Jehoram, to Uzziah, to Jotham, to Ahaz, Hezekiah, Manasseh, Amon, Josiah, to Jeconiah, Shealtiel, Zerubbabel, Abiud, Eliakim, Azor, Zadok, Achim, to Eliud, to Eleazar, to Mathan, to Jacob, to Joseph, to a man named Jesus. That family line would lead to Jesus, and Jesus was going to redeem the whole world. Like Naomi, we all have parts of our lives that can feel broken and hard and turn us bitter. But it's so good to know that, like Naomi, there is no part of our story that God cannot redeem. The Lord redeems.
Something that I would like to mention in a more detailed story of that, there was Boaz wanted to buy some land to that would ensure that he would marry
Ruth,
to marry Ruth, but there was a closer relative, which had more rights to buy the land, but he forfeited it because he was already married.
He was already married, and also, so there's this.
Yeah, I think that's not just luck, but God.
It is, yeah. And it's again, different times and places, people do different things, and part of this whole word redeem was for if like a family got into trouble, had hard times, had to sell their farm. There was a way, somebody like Boaz who could buy it back for them and keep the land in the family so that everybody had their own farm and could live well. The same thing would also happen if somebody got into debt and had to work for another family, or even became a slave. You would redeem them. You would buy them back or get them out of a situation they couldn't get out of. And that's how God can take a bad situation, turn it good, and put the pieces back together.
Yeah, and speaking of putting the pieces back together, at the end of the video, I saw like a bit of the heart that wasn't exactly red.
Yeah.
So not the smoothest going together. But a movie that is difficult when you're trying to put like two broken pieces moved together.
It is.
You have to design them perfectly.
You do. I'll pass that on to Pastor Alex, because he does the animation. But I wonder at the beginning, when Naomi lost her husband and her sons, did she have any idea that God might be able to put it back together?
No.
No, she thought that she was stuck there, that there was no way that this could turn around and that God could pull her out of this situation. And it can be like that for us too. We can be stuck in things where we think, man, there's no way out of this, no way for the pieces to go back together, or no way that thing that's been lost can be found. And the amazing thing that this story tells us and other stories is that God, the Lord, can redeem, can take something that just seems like there's no way this can turn around and turn it into goodness. And it may take a while, because it took a while in the story.
Yeah, and wait, speaking of stuff that turned to bad but good, that makes me remember the story, the son that was a slave, and then
you mean Joseph?
Yeah, Joseph.
Yeah. Well, again, that's another where God redeems. It may take a while and come from surprising people, because again, there was Ruth, who was from a different country, who stuck around surprisingly. That God can do these things in ways so that for us to not lose our hope, to trust that in time God can redeem our situation, and do so again in a surprising way, because all this leads ultimately to Jesus. That nobody saw that coming, that Jesus would have an ancestor who was from Moab, and yet Ruth is an important part of God's big story, And also
Yeah.
it reminds us that our stories work together for what God's doing in the world too.
Yeah.
So let's there's lots of things in this story. It's one of my favorite stories, and we'll move on to another one next week. But let's take some time to thank God for the good news in this story. Dear God, we thank you that you're a God who can get us out of situations when we can't see a way out, when we can't see a hope or a future. We thank you that you can redeem us, redeem our stories, put the pieces back together, and bring goodness back into our lives. Help us to trust you when we get into those difficult spots and we don't know how it's going to turn out, and to be ready for you to surprise us in time. And we thank you that we know that you are the one who redeems all people through Jesus, and that our stories are part of his stories too, just like the story of Ruth, Naomi, and Boaz. May what we do bring redemption, a hope, and a future to others around us. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, that's all for this week. We'll see you again soon. All right, take care, everyone. Be well.